Okay, I'm going to get started this morning by just welcoming all of you guys. Sawadee Kap, Sawadee Kap. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. A great place to be on a rainy Wednesday morning. Welcome to those of you guys that are here. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is our group learning program where on Sundays and Wednesdays I get together with students and help them to learn the path to enlightenment based on the teachings of the Buddha. Today's class we're going to start with meditation, and then after meditation we're going to move into some teachings to be able to help you guys to understand the teachings of the Buddha. Everything the Buddha taught is to train your mind and move the mind to the enlightened mental state where the mind is peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. It no longer experiences any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. Even the slightest displeasure is eliminated from the enlightened mind. You'll notice focus, concentration, clarity, deep memory. Your personal, professional relationships will really blossom and be at ease. You won't be bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships. You're not even in a bad mood anymore. There's nothing that can shake up your mind. It's calm and steady and stable. Meditation is part of that, but there's other teachings you need as well. So that's why after meditation, I'll share some teachings with you guys and kind of helping you guys to understand the path to enlightenment. So if you'd like to join for meditation, the way that we start is I start with some chanting. These chants are done in the Pali language. This is the original historical language of the teachings of the Buddha. These chants, they're not a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. The teachings of the Buddha aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. You're actually training your mind now in your present moment, and you're training the mind towards this peace and joy. So these chanting during the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used to commit the teachings to memory because everything that he taught was oral. So the students every 2 weeks would come together and they would chant or recite his teachings as a way to commit them to memory, because the technology to write things down didn't exist in that region of the world yet. It was in China, but it wasn't in that region of the world where the Buddha was from, which is what we would refer to as Nepal and Northeast India. The technology hadn't come there yet. So every 2 weeks, his students would chant as a way to recite his teachings and commit them to memory. If you'd like to see these chants that I do, and you're even welcome to join along in the chanting, there's a laminated sheet over there on the table. There's a whole bunch of them. You can get one if you'd like at any time. You can get up and go get a chanting sheet. You'll see the Pali words and you'll see the English translations as well. After the chanting, I'm going to provide some guidance as we're meditating together so you'll know how to meditate. Then there'll be a period of time it'll just be quiet. We'll just all be meditating together. Everybody here and those of you guys joining us online, we'll just all be meditating together at the same time. Then after the meditation, we'll come out of that with some more chanting as well. And then that's where we'll move into our class today. In terms of learning meditation, there's times where I teach meditation very detailed and I go through very thoroughly about meditation. But today, let me just give you a little bit of pointers on seated position, because I see all of you guys are seated. There's actually 4 positions that the Buddha taught for meditation. There's seated, lying, standing, and walking positions. But seated position is one that people commonly learn in. If you're sitting on the floor, you might have a cushion under your rear and just kind of lightly cross your legs. This will help the circulation flow through the legs. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. So if you like to do that, you're welcome to do that as well. It's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way. It's about finding what's comfortable for you. So you'd like the lower body to be nice and relaxed and comfortable. The hands and the arms, the Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. So if this is comfortable for you, you could do this with the hands and arms. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. You might decide to put your palms on your thighs or on your knees or your palms up. Some people just rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you find whatever's comfortable with your lower body and the hands and arms. And that's the same thing for the people who are in the chairs too. If you're sitting on a chair or a sofa or a bench or anywhere else, you might just sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but find whatever position's comfortable for you. And then the same thing with the hands and the arms. The upper body should be erect. This keeps the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back. This helps you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, and it keeps the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. So as I mentioned, I'm going to ease into meditation with some chanting, which you guys are welcome to join along in if you like. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะคะวะพุทธังมะคะวันหังอภิวาเทมิ สวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวะมนุสนังโอโตภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, in the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโม ธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Wednesday rainy morning. What a great day to be at the temple learning the teachings of the Buddha. Welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see you all here. Welcome to you again. Those of you guys here at the temple and everyone joining us online, welcome. For those of you guys that this is your first time here at this temple, I'd like to let you know there's a bathroom in the back of the room, the very last door on the right. You're welcome to use it at any time. There's even bathrooms outside the classroom. You can follow the signs around to the main temple bathrooms. If you'd like, you'll get a little bit wet, but you'll be able to see the larger bathrooms, but we've got one here as well. And then there's even some water that's provided by our students. There's some snacks that are even starting to show up. You're welcome to help yourself and make yourself comfortable to anything around that you see. So welcome to the path to enlightenment in terms of learning the teachings of the Buddha. If this is what you're here to be able to learn and understand, the teachings of the Buddha are to guide you to the enlightened mental state where you can learn and train your mind to get to the peace, calm, serenity, and contentedness with joy that is the enlightened mind. The teachings of the Buddha are not about a bunch of beliefs. So you're not believing a bunch of things and hoping that something good happens when you die. That's not what his teachings are about. He also didn't teach a bunch of rules and commandments. That if you follow these rules and commandments, the world will become a peaceful place. He didn't explain the way the world should be and that everybody should follow certain rules and commandments. Instead, he explained the way the world is. He's explaining to you the natural world around you. He's explaining to you your mind, how your mind functions and how to train your mind. He's explaining to you what we refer to as the natural laws of existence. When you live in a world that you don't understand, you will struggle and you will have difficulties. That's what the anger and the sadness sadness, the frustration, the irritation, the annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this is the struggles and difficulties that the unenlightened mind experiences in the unenlightened state, because the mind has certain pollutions that the Buddha discovered. There are certain pollutions in your mind that are causing these feelings to arise. And when you eradicate them through the tools and techniques that the Buddha shares, you'll experience the peace and joy. But as long as these pollutions are in the mind, then your mind's going to keep experiencing these difficulties and struggles, because to live in a world that you don't understand is a real struggle and it's real difficult. So that's why the Buddha describes these natural laws of existence, so that you can understand the world that you live in, and then you can navigate the world more readily. So that's why he didn't teach a bunch of beliefs of things that you believe, because with belief, you don't know it's true or false. You're just believing it because either you convinced yourself to believe it or somebody else convinced you to believe a certain thing, and you don't know whether it's true or false. But with the teachings of the Buddha, what you do is you learn them, you examine them, you investigate them. And as you're doing that, you then start reflecting on his teachings to independently verify whether they're true or false, because you live in the world and you can see around you when he's describing the world and the way the world is, you can figure out whether that's true or false. And then as you've learned, as you've reflected to independently verify, then you move the teachings into practice, and you start practicing these teachings by training your mind, by making wiser decisions. That's why we're doing meditation. But there's other teachings that you would need to practice as well, because as long as you lack wisdom of these natural laws, you'll tend to make unwise decisions. And when you're making these unwise decisions, you're going to experience unwholesome results coming back to you. This is what we refer to as unwholesome karma, or you might have heard the word karma being used before. The word karma is from the Sanskrit language, where the word karma is from the Pali language. The original teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language, so people who study the original teachings of the Buddha will tend to use the word karma. If it translated to just one word in English, I would just use that word because it'd be so much easier for everyone, but it doesn't translate to just one word, so I still need to use this word karma. So I'll explain to you what it is it's cause and effect, or action and result. It's the results of your decisions. That it's your life, it's your decisions, and it's your results. What you experience in life is based on decisions that you make. But typically in the unenlightened state, we blame the decisions that we make, or we blame the results that we experience on other people. But when you understand that it's your own decisions that are leading to any particular result, and because of the lack of wisdom of these natural laws, as you're making these decisions, unwholesome things are coming back to you. Well, if there's anything that you particularly don't care for in your life, or certain things that are going on in your life that you would rather not occur, all you need to do is cultivate new wisdom, make different decisions, and now with those wise decisions, you will experience wholesome results. But with a lack of wisdom of these natural laws and not understanding the natural laws, you will tend to make unwise decisions, just be as a nature of just unknowing of true reality. The unenlightened mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. And because it doesn't understand, it will tend to make unwise decisions and experience unwholesome karma, or unwholesome results. The natural law of karma, it's not mystical or magical. It's not punishments and rewards. It's not any being that's overseeing this natural law and deciding who gets punished and who gets rewarded. The natural law of karma has nothing to do with punishments and rewards. It's literally a sequence of events. It's a cause and effect, or action and result. Like, for example, why are you guys maybe wet? Well, you walked through the rain. That was a choice that you made, and now you're wet. But this water that is on your body, it's not permanent. It's going to eventually be gone. You'll dry out, right? So we all make certain choices in our life, and then we experience different results. And a lot of us got wet this morning because we chose to go out into the rain, and we knew it was raining, but we decided to do it because we thought it was something that was helpful. And hey, here we are. It's just a sequence of events. We weren't being punished for anything. We didn't make any unwise decisions to walk through the rain. It's just the fact that we got wet. There's this cause and effect, or action and result. So when we experience wholesome results, this is referred to as wholesome karma. Or when we experience unwholesome results, we call this unwholesome karma. And we experience this based on either our wise or unwise decisions. So the teachings of the Buddha are to help you cultivate wisdom of how to train your mind, eradicate certain pollutions, and then to be able to make wise decisions so that then you can experience more and more wholesome outcomes in your life. And one of the wholesome outcomes you can experience is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. It takes gradual training and gradual practice and gradual progress to experience this. You can't just snap your fingers and instantly get to enlightenment. And you can't even meditate your way to enlightenment. Meditation is one thing that you use in order to train your mind, but there's many things that you would need to learn in order to progress towards the enlightened mental state. So while we do meditation, and meditation is needed to get to enlightenment, because you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment without meditation, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And you know this to be true. You can independently verify what I'm sharing with you, because everything you've ever learned has been the same way. Whether it's to learn how to read, write, and speak English, it's been gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. Even for a native English speaker, right? We're still learning English. We don't know it all, right? So everybody, whether it's your job or occupation, or whether it's a language that you're speaking or anything else, it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And getting to enlightenment is the same way. As you gradually reduce the pollutions in the mind through applying the tools and techniques that the Buddha shares, as you're gradually reducing those, the qualities of enlightenment gradually start shining through the mind. It's kind of like if there was the sun and there was these clouds in front of the sun. As you gradually see the clouds move away, the rays of the sun start shining through more and more. So the brightness and the radiance of the enlightened mind starts shining through as you remove more and more of the clouds out of the way, or more and more of the pollutions out of the way. The rays of the brightness and radiance of the enlightened mind shine through. So while we talk about attaining enlightenment, and this is something that we describe, you could almost think about it as if your mind is already enlightened, and it's just a matter of removing the pollution so that the qualities of enlightenment can shine through. So the natural state of the mind is enlightenment, but because of the pollutions in the mind is hindered or masked or obstructed from being able to experience those qualities. This is why you might have bitterness and hostility and resentment towards people. This is why you might be disrespectful towards people. You might be hostile and bitter towards others, because the mind has certain pollutions. But by getting those out of the way, you can experience the harmonious relationships where you experience love and kindness and warmth and politeness and respectfulness, because that's what you're putting out. This is what will come back to you. Whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you. So if you put out bitterness, hostility, disrespect, unfriendliness, unkindness, aggression, and that's what you put out, if you argue with people, this is what's all going to come back to you. You probably have seen this in your life. You can independently verify what I'm saying, that when you're bitter, harsh, and hostile towards others, this all just comes back to you. But conversely, when you're polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, and you put that out, that's what comes back to you. This is the cause and effect. This is the natural law of karma, the results of your decisions. So on Wednesdays, what I do is I typically will do meditation with students, and then I will open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teachings of the Buddha. We just restarted what we call our group learning program, which is on Sunday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. here at the temple. And I also live stream it. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to access this live, or you can actually watch the recording. But I also do it at 9 p.m. from home. I have a home studio where I teach at home, and I live stream that. So no matter where you are, there should be a live class based on your local time zone. And then it's recorded as well. But since I just restarted this group learning program, today was scheduled to be the first day of a 4-part series on Buddhist chanting, where I teach students how to do Buddhist chanting. If that's something that you guys would like to learn, I will teach you how to do Buddhist chanting. But oftentimes people that come here to the temple, it's your first time to kind of start learning the teachings of the Buddha, and maybe you are interested in learning chanting, maybe you aren't. If you are interested in learning it, I'll surely teach it to you. Understand that it's not a rite or ritual or ceremony or worship. Understand that it's not prayer or anything anything like that. The Buddha didn't teach any rites or rituals or ceremonies or worship. If you see that being associated with the teachings of the Buddha, it's actually not his teachings. So if you would like to learn Buddhist chanting, I'll be more than pleased to teach it to you. But oftentimes what I do is just open up to any and all questions, and we have a nice random discussion about anything you would like to talk about. If you would like to talk and you'd like to ask questions, we have microphones in the white bowl here at the temple. If you use those, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple. They'll be able to hear you online as well, because we have people joining us online. The way you use this is you just press the gray button on the front. You'll wait a second or two, the lights will come on, and then you just hold it up to your chin and talk into the mic. And again, we'll hear you here at the temple and they'll hear you online. And we have plenty of microphones, so you can just keep them with you. And maybe someone around you would like to use one, so you might pass it around, or you might have more than one question. For those of you guys that are online, if you would like to talk or ask questions or join the discussion, you can put your comments into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions by just opening up your microphone. We'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you through the live stream as well. So let me first just take a poll. Is there anybody here that would like to learn Buddhist chanting and how to do Buddhist chanting? Can you just raise your hand? Okay, few people? All right. How many of you guys would like to just have an open discussion where you just ask questions, random questions, and ask anything you like about the teachings of the Buddha? Let me see how many hands there. About the same number. Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of people that didn't raise your hand at all. Maybe you guys would like me to teach you something. Maybe that's what you would like to do. So let's do this. Why don't we start with some of the questions? Let's do that and then see where that takes us. And then maybe we'll do some chanting, learn for those of you guys that are interested in learning chanting. And if some of you guys would like to ask me to teach something, you could also do that too. Because the path to enlightenment, it's your journey to enlightenment. It's not my journey. I'm not here because I want anything from you. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm not here to force you or control you to do anything. I'm here to share with you what it takes to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. So you're on your own independent journey. So students need to be able to ask questions about the teachings of the Buddha. But some of you, this might be the first time you've ever come to a temple to learn. You might not even know where to start. And if that's the case, you can say that, right? You could just say, hey, this is my first time. I don't know where to start. What's the first thing I should be focused on in order to learn this path to enlightenment? So I'm going to turn things over to you guys here at the temple, and those of you guys online. Anything you guys would like to ask, you're more than welcome to ask. So is there someone here that would like to have a question, or someone online? Anybody interested to break the ice? I think you have a question, right? Yeah, I could tell. Why don't you hand her a mic?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me to speak out. Mm-hmm. This is my first time actually here. Mm-hmm. My question would sound simple, but I think it's not that simple to answer. What is this journey to enlightenment about, actually? Because there are so many theories, so many words. Enlightenment in psychology, in so many religions. But what is this just about?
Sure. So the way that I think about religion is I think about it as there's one person at the top that's disseminating rules and commandments that everybody needs to follow. There's typically rites, rituals, ceremonies, and worship that people are practicing, right? There's teachings have been collected up and now disseminated by kind of like a central organization. And if this is the way you think about religion, the teachings of the Buddha aren't a religion. They're this way of life. And by learning this better way of life, you're training your mind. So what this path to enlightenment is about, it's about doing inner work to heal from what hurt you so that you never need to hurt ever again. But what's hurting you is inside your own mind. And this is what the unenlightened mind doesn't understand. The unenlightened mind typically thinks the problems you are experiencing are external. So you think like mom and dad are the problem, or brothers and sisters, or coworkers, or friends, or the news, or the government, or some other thing. Facebook's the problem. That's the problem. Let's all gang up on this person, or that person, or this organization, or this organization, or that group, right? And typically what we do, because we misunderstand the problem in the unenlightened state, is you push people away out of your life, or you push a situation out of your way, and you think that that's going to solve the problem. But it doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is that your mind's getting angry and frustrated, agitated, and all these discontent feelings. And when you push people away out of your life, you still experience that. You still experience the agitation, the annoyance, the loneliness, the boredom, the guilt, and the shame. If this person was the problem, when you push them out of your life, you wouldn't get angry or irritated anymore. If they were the true cause of the problem, when you push that person or the situation away, you wouldn't get irritated or annoyed anymore, because your mind would be completely peaceful because you've solved the problem. But with the lack of wisdom, you'll keep pushing people out of your way, or you'll be bitter and harsh and hostile towards people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal trying to fear another animal to do things your way, because the mind wants things to be a certain way. And when you get what you want, you get pleasant feelings. And when you don't get what you want, you get painful feelings. So the mind thinks in the unenlightened state, this bitterness, this harshness, this hostility, you think that the person has caused you to be angry, and you might feel justified in your bitterness and your hostility. And it's like an animal growling and roaring and showing your teeth, trying to fear this other being into doing things your way. Or the third thing that you'll do when you misunderstand what the true problem is and the cause of that problem is you'll tend to put your expectations on people, and you'll try to control people to do things your way. You've been in arguments before where you've been adamantly arguing with other people, trying to convince them that they're doing something wrong and they're causing you to be angry and frustrated. And you're trying to convince them to do things your way. And if they would just do things your way, in the mind of the unenlightened being, you think the world would be perfect. But the problem is that there's 8 billion people in the world. Not everybody can do things your way. It's just not possible, right? So as long as the mind has what we call craving, desire, attachment, expectations, wants, longing, yearning, wanting things to be a certain way, then you can't be happy permanently, because the world isn't going to function the way you want it to function. The world is functioning based on these natural laws of existence. And because the mind doesn't understand these natural laws of existence, and the world isn't functioning the way you want it to function, you'll get angry and frustrated, agitated, all these other discontent feelings. So what you're doing on the path to enlightenment is it's kind of like inner discovery, inner work, to be able to heal from what hurt you so that you don't need to hurt again. But in the very first teaching that you learn is to learn that your mind is causing these discontent feelings, that the anger, the bitterness, the hostility, the aggression, the loneliness, the boredom, the guilt, the shame, the fear, the shyness, the resentment, all of those feelings that you're experiencing is being caused by your own mind. And this is why you can actually solve it. This is why you can get to this enlightened mental state, because your mind is causing it. If it was everybody else that was causing these feelings in your mind, you're going to have to train the whole world. You're going to have to train everybody, 8 billion people, to do things your way. How are you ever going to accomplish that? It's not possible, right? But you can train one mind. There's one mind you can train. This is why you can get to enlightenment. So a Buddha, they actually figure out how to get to enlightenment by themselves without the help of any teachers or any guides. And as they do so, they then dedicate the rest of their life to sharing their independently discovered teachings with countless people, to help countless people get to enlightenment during their lifetime. And then they preserve their teachings in such a way that countless more people can get to enlightenment after their death. These are the 3 main criteria of what makes a Buddha, is they get to enlightenment by themselves without the help of any teachers or any guides. They then dedicate the rest of their life to sharing those independently discovered teachings with countless people, and countless people get to this enlightened mental state. And they know they're enlightened because their minds no longer experience bitterness and hostility and sadness and anger and all those other discontent feelings. then they have to preserve their teachings in such a way that countless more people get to enlightenment after their death. So Gotama Buddha, living over 2,500 years ago, he meets all three of these criteria. And there's some other criteria as well, but these are the three main criteria. So he discovered these natural laws in terms of being able to see them clearly for himself. And then he can explain them in such a way that you can independently verify those teachings. So he didn't perform a bunch of miracles to convince people who he was. He only performed one miracle for the first 5 students. And then after that, he didn't perform any more miracles because his teachings are independently verifiable. But those first 5 students he needed to get their attention and say, hey, look, here's what the teachings are. Let me show you. And then from that point forward, people were able to independently verify his teachings and be able to learn and grow and develop and train their mind. So if you're interested in getting rid of the anger and the sadness, and you're done with all the resentment and jealousy and guilt and shame and stress and anxiety, this is a path that you can learn to be able to accomplish that. And as you do, you'll gradually see the condition of your mind in your life improve. Because as you're applying the tools and techniques that the Buddha shared, it will produce results for you. Where the things you're doing now, it's not producing the results. You're still getting angry. You're still getting bitter. You're still getting hostile. You're still having arguments. You're still having difficulties in certain relationships. If you keep doing that stuff, you're going to just keep experiencing that over and over and over. It's just a cycle. So if you had a lot of broken relationships where your relationships just keep broken and you get sad and lonely and bored because of these things, you just don't have the wisdom of how to have harmonious relationships with everybody yet. You're not a bad person. You don't have to feel guilty about that. Every single being that's ever been born has been unenlightened. You wouldn't be born if you weren't unenlightened. So because you were born, your mind's coming into this world, it's found this body, you now have the opportunity to train your mind and get to enlightenment. But whether you choose to do that or not, it's your choice. And then what we're here for as teachers is to guide you in that journey. We have resources like books, videos, podcasts, personal guidance, audiobooks, things like this. It's all available at no cost, where you can access all of these things. It's available to you. And then what we do is we kind of point the way. We're like a tour guide that's pointing towards the things that you need to learn and grow and develop, but you're on your own journey in life. And now through you acquiring this wisdom, you're not a follower, you're not a devotee or anything like that. You're on your own individual journey. And now you're learning and growing and developing with the teacher's support. And then as you become more and more wise and you're training your mind, you'll see the results of the mind becoming more peaceful and joyful. And your life is becoming that way too, as you're living more and more harmonious with all people around you. Does that help?
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you're saying speaks volumes.
Yeah, very wonderful. Other questions you guys would like to ask? Keith, you have a question?
I just crossed my head.
No, I saw you earlier when I said, would you guys like to have a discussion? I saw you raise your hand. I thought maybe you had a question.
Yeah, okay, why not?
Okay, up to you. It's already on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about these things.
Is your mic on? I'm not sure if it's on or not. Yeah, it's not on yet. I think it was already. Oh, okay. Is it working now?
Is that working?
Yeah, there you go. Now it's on.
Yeah, you talk about attachment, and that seems to be my big problem. If I'm driving, I expect people to drive in a certain way, and if they don't, I get upset by it. Or when I'm working, I do like sales work, and often I get these bad feelings because I think I'm just too attached to the result, or I'm too attached to. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's one of the reasons I came today is because I want to just get to that that kind of state of joy where I can do things without any expectation or any attachment, and it's how to get to that state. I've asked you these questions before, but just getting there seems to be the issue for me, and if you can maybe help me with that would be great.
Sure. So I'm going to use a visual aid here to help. So this is the very first teachings that you learn when you're on the path to enlightenment. I think you've learned this with me before, is the 3 universal truths, and then you learn about the 4 noble truths, which explains the problem in the unenlightened mind, the cause of the problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward, right? So you learn that everything around you is impermanent. This is something you can independently verify, that everything you see around you, anything you see, hear, smell, taste, that touches the body and that goes through the mind, it's impermanent. It's constantly changing. You learn about discontentedness, which is conditioned feelings, that the mind experiences these conditional pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant. What a conditioned feeling is that you're experiencing is that based on some condition, you will be happy. If it's sunny outside, you'll be happy. Maybe if it's raining, I don't know, maybe you'll be sad. Depends what your cravings are. Or if everybody drives the way I want them to drive, I'll be happy. But if people drive the way that I don't want them to drive, I'm going to be sad. This is called a conditional feeling, that the mind is forming its inner feeling based on some condition. And because all these conditions can't be permanently true, because of impermanence, people won't drive the way you want them to drive all the time. It's just not possible because people have different experiences. And because of this impermanence, things are constantly changing in the world. So your mind's getting happy when people drive a certain way that you want them to drive. And you're forming that feeling of happiness based on that. But then that condition is not permanent. It's impermanent. It changes. So now when people don't drive the way you want, now that the mind gets those painful feelings. And where this is all coming from is this craving, desire, attachment, like you were referencing, the wants, the expectations, wanting things to be a certain way. And things can't be your way, not just Keith, but everybody, right? Whatever cravings, desires, attachments are in your mind, the world can't be that way permanently because everything around you is impermanent. You can independently verify your body is impermanent, your relationships are impermanent, your bank account's impermanent, your material possessions are impermanent, the weather's impermanent, everything around you is impermanent. But the mind in the unenlightened state, it craves permanence. This first noble truth is explaining that everyone that is unenlightened will experience discontentedness. So if you experience those feelings, sadness, anger, frustration, all those others that I mentioned, your mind's unenlightened. Okay, there's a lot of unenlightened beings in the world. Everyone's born unenlightened, but you can move your mind to this enlightened mental state. But in order to move your mind to the enlightened mental state, you need to understand the problem, which the first noble truth is explaining. The problem is these conditioned feelings, that the mind keeps experiencing conditioned feelings. Then the cause of that problem is the second noble truth. It's that craving, desire, attachment. The mind's craving permanence. It's wanting things to be a certain way permanently. And we live in an impermanent world. The mind just lacks wisdom. It doesn't understand the universal truth of impermanence. The mind doesn't understand you live in an impermanent world. Things are constantly changing. Your mind craves for things to be a certain way permanently. So when you get that lane of traffic and it's clear, the mind's holding on to that. And then when someone cuts you off, because the mind's craving and wanting this to be a certain way, now you're forming this conditioned feeling of sadness or anger or frustration based on this impermanence. This mind is craving permanence. And now when you experience this change, this impermanence, now the mind doesn't like that. So same way of saying the mind craves permanence is to say that the mind does not like impermanence. The unenlightened mind doesn't like change. So when things start changing in your life, you'll struggle, you'll have difficulties when you have cravings. But when you eliminate your cravings, desires, attachments, which is the third noble truth, when you eliminate holding on and craving for things to be permanent, you can be peaceful and joyful all the time. Because you understand some people drive a certain way, some people drive a different way. This is impermanence. Some people are going to be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful to you. Other people aren't. Other people are going to be disrespectful, right? And when they're disrespectful, this is just impermanence. It's affecting that person. It's not affecting you if you don't have a craving, desire, attachment in your mind, right? If you have a craving for everyone to be respectful to you, when someone's disrespectful, you'll be angry, you'll be frustrated. But when you understand impermanence, that there's some people who are polite, kind, friendly, respectful, and they're going to drive polite, kind, friendly, respectful. And then there's going to be some people who are impolite, unkind, unfriendly, disrespectful. That's not a reflection of you and who you are when other people are disrespectful. That's a reflection of them and how they're choosing to function, right? It's not a reflection of you. So when people drive a certain way, if they're driving decent, okay, you're driving along. Someone starts driving erratically, whoa, distance yourself from that. This person's making a bunch of unwise decisions. Let me distance myself from that. If they want to cut me off and zoom ahead in traffic, go ahead, go for it. Get as far away as you can from people who are making unwise decisions, right? So it's this eightfold path, the fourth noble truth, that is the complete, perfect plan that's going to teach you how to train your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. So what you need to do in order to eliminate the cravings, desires, attachments, is you need to practice the entire eightfold path. The eightfold path are 8 individual steps or 8 individual factors that you learn. And I think you might have learned this, but I'm not sure, where you learn each individual step using the words of the Buddha. And as you do, you dial this in and closer in your life. And this is what eliminates your craving, desire, attachments. Breathing mindfulness meditation, which we just did this morning, is part of that. Practicing generosity, where you're giving and sharing your time, your effort, your energy, and your resources more than is strictly required in any given situation without any expectation of anything in return. This is going to help you eliminate your cravings, desires, attachments, because with craving, desire, attachment, the mind is selfish. What craving, desire, attachment is it's this longing, yearning. It's like this unquenchable thirst. I know what I need. I need a new boyfriend or girlfriend. That'll make me happy. Let me get a new boyfriend or girlfriend. And then you get your boyfriend or girlfriend and you're happy for a period of time. But then you get frustrated, you're agitated, you're annoyed. Because you base your inner feelings on boyfriend or girlfriend is not going to make you feel whole. They're not going to make you feel complete. Your mind is just craving, thinking that this person is going to somehow save you from your sadness and your sorrow, but they're not. Or I know what I need. I need more money. Let me get a new job. Let me get more money. Or let me ask my boss for more money. More money, that's what'll solve all of this. Let me get more money. So you chase after more money. You're maybe happy for a period of time when you get it, but then you're sad. I know what I need, a new car. I need a new car. A new house, that's what I need. More jewelry, a nicer pair of shoes. The mind just chases and chases and chases. It's like an unquenchable thirst. The mind's constantly thinking something outside of you is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. So what the Eightfold Path teaches you how to do is how to pursue things as a goal, as an objective or interest. So you use breathing mindfulness meditation and you use generosity to specifically target craving, desire, attachment, because with craving, desire, attachment, you'll hold on to things really tightly. So you'll need to practice generosity daily with the people around you. There's certain generosity. What I'm going to share with you now is what's called the way of practice. These are the 3 things the Buddha teaches you to do on a daily basis. 1 is practice generosity, where you're giving and sharing more than is strictly required in any given situation. The second thing that you would be wise to do on a daily basis is practice a certain moral conduct. The moral conduct is described here as right speech, right action, and right livelihood. He goes into detail on this. He explains to you the natural laws of things that would be wise and things that would be unwise, and you can independently verify it. So like about your speech, he teaches you to eliminate lying, to eliminate slander or gossip, to eliminate harsh speech, and to eliminate frivolous speech. You can look at these 4 types of speech, and then he goes in deeper into right speech, and you can see how it's your craving, desire, attachment that's motivating lying, slander, harsh speech, and frivolous speech. Frivolous speech is just like yada, 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 yada. It's kind of like broadcasting. It's not really a conversation. But then there's deeper teachings as well on right speech, because as long as you're causing harm through your speech, this harm will come back to you. And with a lack of wisdom, you won't know what is wise and unwise about how to interact in the world through your speech. So he teaches you to speak at the right time. What you say is true. You speak you speak gentle. You speak beneficially and with a mind of loving kindness. And then there's other moral conduct here, but these aren't rules. They're not commandments. He's helping you to see these natural laws, that when you make wise decisions, these wholesome results will come back to you. So you're practicing generosity on a daily basis. You're practicing the moral conduct, and then you're also practicing meditation. Meditation is the 3rd thing, which is part of the way of practice. So all these teachings here, you would need to learn in detail using the words of the Buddha, but then what you can bring it down to in a day-to-day basis is generosity, moral conduct, and meditation. And this is what's going to help you to eliminate your cravings, desires, attachments. But more specifically, you're going to need to learn this entire path. And I have books and audiobooks and classes to help you do that. You have a follow-up?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Rex, you have a question?
Thank you. This might be an oversimplification, David, but I want you to comment on it. It seems like the more people focus on me, that leads to more and more discontentedness. In other words, if you're focused on, and this is just an example that got me thinking about it. Keith was talking about people driving. You know, like, oh, you're a bad driver. You're impacting me. Mm-hmm. Or, as you said, I need a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Me. Mm-hmm. I want a new pair of shoes, or I want to travel, or I want this, I want that. Me. It seems that if you can eliminate this me, or at least tamp it down, then you're going to be much less likely to be discontent. If you can just get rid of this me. Everything's me. Everything's, look at me. Everything is, I want. So that's just an observation.
Yeah, there's two things in there that you're talking about, which an individual would need to learn. Is the first thing is when you're talking about the me, this is the craving, desire, attachment, the selfishness, the unquenchable thirst. If you've ever been in the mall and you're like, a new pair of shoes, yes, I want that. Or, new jewelry, or new phone, new computer, new video game. I want that. That's the craving, that's the longing, that's the yearning. It's not the object itself. You can have a mobile phone and not be attached to it. You can have a boyfriend or girlfriend and not be attached to it. You can have these things. It's not about eliminating the possessions. It's about eliminating the mind holding on to it, wanting it to be permanent. So, for example, if you want this phone to be permanent, when it breaks, you'll be upset, or you miss it, or you misplace it, you will be upset. Or someone steals it, or it stops working, you will be upset. You'll be angry and frustrated because you're craving for it to be permanent, when in reality it's not permanent. So that's the me, the craving, desire, attachment, holding on to things. But then the other thing you're talking about there, Rex, is the self, is that there's a certain pollution called personal existence view, where the mind falsely believes that there is a me here. There is no me here. There is a body, there is a mind, but this isn't you. It's not who you are. This is part of this third universal truth down here, where you learn about the universal truth of non-self. That as long as your mind falsely believes or has the confusion that there is a me, then yeah, the mind's going to have that craving in there, that longing, yearning, trying to satisfy me. But when you realize that these cravings, desires, attachments are leading to discontentedness, when you realize that it's just a body, it's just a mind, that there is no me here, which this is a deeper teaching that sometimes students at the beginning don't understand. But when you learn that, then yeah, you'll get to peacefulness and you'll get to joy. There's peacefulness there. So it's learning about how to pursue things as a goal, objective, or interest through wise decision making, rather than chasing after things, chasing after the objects of your affection, thinking that it's going to provide some kind of inner fulfillment, when in reality it's not. This external longing, yearning, it's just going to be temporary happiness, which is ultimately going to lead in dissatisfaction, because you get that thing that you want and you're happy temporarily, but then it's going to fade away. Right? This is what you experience in the unenlightened state. That's what a conditioned feeling is. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. So these pleasant feelings that the Buddha is talking about, the happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria, it arises, it changes, and it fades away, because it's a conditioned feeling. Based on the condition that I have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I will be happy. But when I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend, I'm not going to be happy. Based on the condition of my bank account is this, I will be happy. But then when your bank account does this, you will be sad, right? Or if people drive the way I want them to drive, I will be happy. But as soon as somebody drives the way I don't want them to drive, I'll be sad or frustrated or agitated. This is what the unenlightened mind does because of its cravings, desires, attachments, because of its selfishness. And this isn't to say you're a bad person. This is just what the unenlightened mind does, that it has these selfish desires, this unquenchable thirst. It wants things to be satisfying permanently. And you can't ever get to permanent satisfaction, permanent joy, as long as you're basing your inner feelings on what other people are doing. As long as you keep doing that, you're just sabotaging your happiness. So you need to have this inward happiness by eradicating the pollutions that are causing this up and down. So it's craving, desire, attachment is the culprit. But the only reason why craving exists is because of the ignorance or the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom. Because of the lack of wisdom in the unenlightened state, craving continues to persist because the mind doesn't understand craving and it doesn't understand the tools and techniques of how to eliminate it. So that's why Keith was asking, like, I understand, I'm starting to understand that this craving, desire, attachment is the problem, but how do I get rid of it? How do I eradicate it from the mind? Well, it's the Eightfold Path. The entire Eightfold Path. You would need to learn this. And that's what's going to transform the mind away from its cravings. Mm-hmm. Any other questions you guys have? Anything online? Oh, it looks like Rachel, you have a question. Go ahead, ma'am. I have to unmute you. There you go.
Good morning, David. I just want to share that yesterday I was told that today is in East Asia, today is the birthday of the Buddha. Then I googled. It said that in South Asia or in Southeast Asia, it's the next Wednesday, the full moon day of May. So I just want to share the information. And my question is, in Thailand, when is the day? When is the day of the? Which day is? When is the Buddhist birthday, and how is the day celebrated in Thailand?
Sure. So there's a holiday that's around this time that it celebrates the date that the Buddha was born, the date that he was enlightened, and the date that he died. And all of this happened on the same date, spread out over 80 years. So he was born on a certain day, and then 35 years later, on that same day, he got to enlightenment. And then 80 years after his birth, 45 years after he got to enlightenment, he died on that particular day. And it's the same day. And when we say it's the same day, it's the same lunar day, because during the lifetime of the Buddha, they kept track of the days by the lunar calendar. So farmers during that time, they could look up at the sun, at the moon, and they could tell what day it was based on the moon. Where nowadays we use a calendar with 12 months and 28 to 31 days, and this is how we keep track of our time. But during that time, it was a lunar schedule. So this date of celebrating the Buddha's birth, his enlightenment, and his death, it changes each year. Based on our calendar, it changes each year. But based on the lunar calendar, it's the same day every year. But because of our calendar is different than the lunar calendar, it fluctuates and it changes. So when this date comes up, the people here in Thailand, they will typically go to the temple and celebrate by learning the teachings of the Buddha. That's what would be wise to do. A lot of the temples here in Thailand, they're practicing rites, rituals, ceremonies, and worship. So they might be going to the temple and they might just be listening to monks chant. And that might be what they're doing. There are some places that are meditating. There's some places that are sharing the words of the Buddha and the teachings of the Buddha, but it's kind of rare. It's very few and far between. We're at this low point in terms of where the teachings have been. Over the course of the life of the Buddha, as he was teaching, he talked about his teachings being very bright and shining in the world during his lifetime, and that they would be very bright and vibrant after his life for 500 years. But then we would go through these 500-year cycles where his teachings would essentially rise, and then they would kind of like dwindle off and kind of fade away. And we're in this period of time where in 2017, it ended the last 500-year cycle. It was in 2017 was 2,500 years after the death of the Buddha. The Buddha died in 483 BC, And 2,500 years after that is the year 2017. And that was the last part of the very end of the low point of the teachings of the Buddha. And now there's efforts underway to restore his teachings back into the world so that more and more people can learn them and grow and experience enlightenment. And that's what I've been involved in, helping people to learn the teachings of the Buddha. And on his birthday, anytime that you would like, it's wise to go to the temple or read books or reach out to a teacher, get help, because you getting to enlightenment is the very best thing you could ever do for yourself, for those close to you, and for all of humanity. Because if you get to enlightenment, your mind's going to be peaceful and joyful for the rest of your life. And the people around you, they're going to really enjoy you being enlightened because you're not going to be causing them harm. You're not going to be bitter and harsh and hostile to people. So it's helping you, it's helping the people around you, and it's helping all of humanity. Because as you go around and you interact as an enlightened being, being more loving and kind and gentle and warm and friendly and respectful to people, then this is helping everybody, because people are going to observe your conduct and they're going to learn from you. So if you're a parent and you have children, your children growing up with a parent who's enlightened, they're going to experience so much wisdom coming from you. Or if you have parents that you interact with, they can learn from you as well. So oftentimes in the world, we talk about helping others, or people talk about changing the world, that you might want to change the world. This is common in Western culture. The people go out into the world, they want to change the world. You can't change the world. The world is the world. The world has the natural laws of existence. You can't change that. All you can do is understand the world. When you understand the world and you understand these natural laws, you will function better in this world. The way that you help improve the world is through learning these natural laws. And then when you function through these natural laws, the people around you will learn those from you by the way of you practicing them. But if you're going around bitter, harsh, and hostile and saying, I want to change the world, what? Change the world to bitterness, harshness, and hostility? Why? Right? First, you need to spend time with your own mind through learning and practicing in order to transform your own mind. And when you transform your own mind, now you've changed the world by changing your own mind. So you've got to start with your own mind. And when you start with your own mind, then it can go out from there. That if you change your own mind, now your parents, your children, your siblings, other people around you, your coworkers, they're going to benefit from the wisdom that you've cultivated. But if you haven't cultivated any wisdom about the natural world around you and these natural laws, how could you ever go out into the world and be beneficial in the world that's actually going to be impactful? So by training your mind, whether it's a holiday of the Buddha or any other day, improving the wisdom in your own mind, that's what's going to help you. It's going to help those close to you and all of humanity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything you guys would like to ask? Yes, ma'am.
You said the truth of no self. I don't really get it. If there is no me, then how do I know what's the goal of this body and the mind?
Okay, so the universal truth of non-self is to help you eliminate personal existence view. This is one of the pollutions that are in the mind, where the mind's confused. And the mind clings to this body, thinking that this is who you are. And it clings to the mind, thinking this is who you are. So when you're clinging to this body, the mind is wanting this body to be permanent. So now when you see a pimple, you get upset because you're not being perceived in the world a certain way. Or you get a mole, or you get a little extra fat, or you get a gray hair, or you start losing your hair, or some other change to the physical body. When your mind's clinging to this body, this self-image, thinking that this is who you are, you'll be shaken up when you experience change. Or if somebody says something complimentary to you, you'll get excited. Maybe you'll get pleasant feelings because somebody says, wow, you look so beautiful, or you look so handsome. They're talking about this body, and your mind is perceiving it. They're talking about me because they're talking about this body. But the problem with this is that complimentary conversation or dialogue about this body is not permanent. It's impermanent. Someone's going to say something degrading and disparaging about this body. Oh, you look so ugly. Why are you wearing that? did you see that big mole on your nose? Oh my goodness, it's so ugly. Or did you see that pimple? Right? Somebody's going to say something degrading or disparaging about how this body looks. And if you perceive this body as you and this is me, now you're going to feel sad. You're going to feel frustrated. Or if you spill something on your clothing and you're in a social situation, you're going to feel embarrassed, right? Because you're not being perceived in the world a certain way. So as long as you're clinging to this body, your mind's going to be shaken up because this body isn't you. It's not who you are. It's not permanent. And then the same thing is going on with the mind, the self-identity. Like I am Chinese, or I am Mexican, or I am Canadian, or I am German, or I am American, or I am an Aussie, or I am Spanish. Any of this I am. Your nationality, your culture, your ethnicity, your job, your occupation, maybe your role in society. Like I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend, I am a husband, I am a wife, I am a police officer, I am a Buddhist teacher, I am a waiter, I'm a taxi driver. Any of this I am that the mind's holding on to and clinging to in your mind, like I am this. Again, when you hear something complimentary, all Chinese people are lovely and kind and friendly. All Mexican people are friendly and loving and kind. Oh, I am Mexican or I am American. Oh, I feel great. They're talking about me. But now it's only a matter of time before somebody says something degrading or disparaging. They might say all French people are this, or all Canadian people are that, or all Chinese people are that. And now they're talking about me, right? And now your mind gets upset, right? Well, if my mind holds on to I am American, now, when they're talking about something degrading and disparaging about Americans, I'm going to be upset, right? So you can get rid of this where you understand this body was born in a certain place. This body was born in Mexico or France or Canada or China or wherever it is that this body was born. It was born on a certain land, but your mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of I am American, I am French, I am Mexico, I am Mexican, right? I am. You don't have to adopt that. Same thing with your job or occupation. I'm performing the role of being a Buddhist teacher, or you're performing the role of some other thing in the world, but that is not permanent. If you cling to your role in society and thinking that this is permanent, when things change, you'll be shaken up. So if you've ever been in a relationship where you were a boyfriend or girlfriend and your mind identified with I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend, when you guys separated, you struggled. You had loneliness, you had boredom. You might have missed this person. You might have struggled with, now that you're single, you don't identify with being single. So you might have wanted to hurry up and get right back into another relationship because you weren't comfortable being single. And this is the problem when there's this personal existence view in the mind. So the solution to it is to realize non-self, is to realize that this body isn't you, this mind isn't you, it's not who you are as a person. The choices and decisions that you make in life, that doesn't define who you are as a person. These are just choices and decisions that you make. So in the unenlightened state, the mind's going to be confused. It's going to have the misunderstanding. It's going to cling to all of these things, thinking that this is who you are. And then when things start changing because of impermanence, you'll struggle because the mind's craving permanence. So realizing non-self is to realize that this body isn't you, this mind isn't you. And then the question becomes, well, if I'm not the body and I'm not the mind, then who am I? What am I? This is the problem. The mind's going to keep grasping. It's going to keep longing. It's going to want to hold on to something and say, well, I am this. Well, no, you're not that. Well, I'm this then. No, you're not that either. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. There's none of this that is you. This shirt isn't you. The shirt that you're wearing, the clothes you're wearing, that's not you. The skin that you have, that's not you. That's not who you are. It's just skin, right? This bones and fluids and muscle tissue, that's not you, right? This job and occupation that you have, that's not you. That's not who you are. But the mind in the unenlightened state, because of its personal existence, you're going to keep grasping and grasping and grasping and trying to find a me or a you. So as you train your mind, you get to the point where you realize there is no you. There's just a physical body. There's just a mind. It's come together for this existence, but none of this defines you because there is no you. But there's so much information out there that someone might say, you need to find your true self. Who are you? You need to find your true self. There is no true self. There is no self. You'll be on a constant journey trying to find yourself. You might have a certain job, a certain occupation, friends, family, hobbies, activities. You'll keep trying to grab onto all these things, thinking that this is who you are. But then all those things are going to change. They're not permanent. Think about your hobbies and activities that you've done in your life. They've been constantly changing. You haven't had one hobby or activity your entire life ever, because this is all changing. So if you try to cling to that, thinking that that's who you are, you'll struggle when you're not doing it anymore. Or if you cling to a certain job or occupation, thinking that's who you are, again, when that changes, you'll struggle. Or a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, if you cling to this, thinking that's who you are, when that changes, you'll struggle then too. So you got to let go of thinking that all these things are you and defining who you are, and just realize that you're just making a bunch of decisions, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. That's what's happening. Just a bunch of decisions. But there's certain training that you need to employ in order to eradicate this from the mind, because sometimes you can understand it intellectually as I'm describing it to you, but then your mind being confused when you go out into the world and somebody says something degrading or disparaging about this body, you'll get upset. You'll get angry. So intellectually, you might understand what I'm saying to you. Some people do, some people don't. But then your mind will struggle even if you understand intellectually, because there's still the pollution in the mind that you haven't practiced yet to eradicate this pollution from the mind. So there's the intellectual learning of the teachings of the Buddha. There's the reflection to be able to see the truth. That's why I'm giving you all these examples, so you can see the truth that there is no self, that none of these things are you. But then there's the practice part, where you've got to move the teachings into practice and train the mind to eradicate, in this case, personal existence view. Because we've all been given labels at birth. Every single one of us had a label. My label was David. I was labeled as David. This is David. Right? Each one of you have a label. We've been taught our whole life to take on this self-identity. We each come from a certain country that has a flag, and we start identifying with that flag. Or we have a national anthem, right? And this kind of promotes the mind grabbing onto this identity of who we think we are. And now we'll invest and we'll purchase things in that country, we'll invest in land and grow this country because we've adopted this identity of this is who we think we are. But this is all going to shake up your mind and cause you to be discontent when you have either agreeable or disagreeable experiences related to the physical body or the mind. So there is no self. There's nothing here. So you can learn how to eradicate that, but still make wise decisions towards improving your life and making sure that the life that you experience, the results of what you're experiencing, are wholesome. So it's a matter of realizing that these things don't identify who you are, while at the same time realizing that making wise decisions are very helpful in life. And that's what this path to enlightenment will teach you. The Eightfold Path will teach you how to accomplish that. And then as you learn it gradually, slowly, but surely, and bring it into your life, this is where you experience more and more improvements. Mm-hmm. Does that give you enough for your question? Yeah? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's about the mind, the soul? Is that me? Or what is about that?
None of that is you. There's nothing here that is you. But again, the problem is that the mind's going to keep grasping and looking for a me. It's going to keep trying to hold on to something. The Buddha didn't teach whether there is a soul or there isn't a soul. He left this as an undeclared teaching. He didn't say there is one. He didn't say there isn't one. But none of that is you. It's not who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. No more questions? Another question? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, getting back to my first question of enlightenment, and if we try to frame it in the discussion of our current discussion in terms of impermanence, wouldn't that mean that enlightenment itself is supposed to be not that permanent?
Okay, I'll help you with that. Great question. So there's something called conditioned objects and then there's what's called unconditioned objects. A conditioned object arises, it changes, and then it fades away. And what you experience right now are conditioned feelings, because you have certain conditions in your mind, certain pollutions, and you're forming your inner feelings based on these conditions, right? And now your feelings arise, they change, and they fade away. So this is what the unenlightened mind experiences. But when you get to enlightenment, you've purified your mind of the conditions that are causing these feelings to arise, change, and fade away. So you get to the point where your mind is unconditioned, right? There's no conditions in your mind that are causing these conditioned feelings. Your mind's been purified. So your mind is now in this mental state of enlightenment. Enlightenment is a mental state. It's not a physical destination. It's a mental state that you're experiencing at all times of your day. That you have certain mental qualities, and I've described some of those, like peace, calm, serenity, and contentedness with joy, that are just permanent in your mind because you have unconditioned mental qualities now. Where now, when you wake up in the morning, if you see it's sunny outside, you might be happy based on the condition of it being sunny. But then when you see it's raining, you might be sad or frustrated. If you got happy when it's sunny, you'll be frustrated when it's raining. Or if you got happy when your bank account was $5,000, you'll be sad when it's $2,000, right? This is called conditional feelings. Well, by the time you get to enlightenment, you've eradicated those causes and conditions. You don't have the pollutions in your mind anymore. So when you wake up as an enlightened being, you're joyful. You're joyful. There's no cause or condition for it. There's no condition that's causing it because the mind is now unconditioned. So unconditioned objects, they don't arise, they don't change, they don't fade away. They're just permanent. So the enlightened mind is permanent. It's physically impossible for the enlightened mind to become angry because the causes and conditions that produce anger have been eradicated from the mind. That you're now experiencing unconditioned mental qualities of the peace and the joy, the concentration, the focus, the clarity, the deep memory, all these other qualities that I talk about that are enlightened. So this is why enlightenment is permanent, because there's no cause and condition in the mind that would produce a conditional feeling, that the mind is now unconditioned. So enlightenment itself is unconditioned. The natural laws that the Buddha taught, these are unconditioned. They don't arise, change, and fade away. This is why the teachings that he shared 2,500 years ago are just as applicable then as they are now, because the natural laws haven't changed. They don't change. They're the same natural laws. Or if you have unconditional love for somebody, you didn't fall in love with somebody, so you can't fall out of love with somebody. This is what people are talking about now. Like if you meet somebody, you might say, I fell in love with you. And then when they don't do what you want anymore, when they're not meeting your expectations, you might say, I don't love you anymore. I've fallen out of love with you. But this isn't love. This is craving, desire, attachment masquerading as love. It's if you do what I want and you give me what I expect, then I will say I love you. And as long as you do everything I want you to do, I will keep saying I love you. But when you stop doing what I want, I don't love you anymore. This is an actual love. This is craving, desire, attachment. But true love, love without attachment, where you're not craving and putting your expectations on people, this is permanent. Like all of you, you didn't do anything for me to love you. I just love you. What love is a genuine interest in seeing you be well. That's why I come here. This is why I share teachings with you. This is why I have no expectation of you. I don't want anything from you. I just love you. I would like to see you be well. I have a genuine interest in seeing you be well. I have active goodwill for you. There's nothing you did in order to earn my love. So there's nothing you can do for me to stop loving you. I don't suggest you do this, but if you went out and murdered someone today, I still love you. I disagree with your choices and decisions. I wouldn't have murdered that person, but I still love you. I didn't base my inner feelings on your actions. I don't have expectations of you. I don't want anything from you. So if you called me from jail and said, hey, David, I really need your help. I murdered someone. Can you come help me? I need some teachings of the Buddha. Sure, I'll come see you. I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't be frustrated. Because you as a person, I can love you while disagreeing with your choices and decisions. I can disagree with your choices and decisions that I wouldn't have made those same choices and decisions, but I'm not basing my love on those things. So in the unenlightened state, an individual will base their feelings on something. It's a conditioned feeling. But by the time you get to enlightenment, you have unconditioned mental qualities where the mind's peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, and you can love all beings, where you have unconditional love. People didn't do anything for you to have love for them, so there's nothing they can do for you to stop loving them. But right now, you will find that difficult. You will find that challenging because of the pollutions in the mind. But enlightenment itself is permanent because it's unconditioned. You've completely purified the mind, and it's the natural state of the mind, and it's a permanent mental state. You're welcome. Anything else you guys would like to discuss? Yeah, sure. It's already on, actually. Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah.
So going based off of her question a little bit, so does that mean if you're enlightened, you never feel discontentment or discontent feelings?
That's true. You never experience conditional feelings. So when we're talking about conditional happiness, excitement, this arises, changes, and fades away. By the time you get to enlightenment, you're experiencing unconditioned happiness or unconditioned joy, where there doesn't have to be any condition met in order to be happy. So in the unenlightened state, if this happens and 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 this happens, then I will be happy. So the amount of time you can be happy becomes less and less and less and less and less as your expectations and your wants and your cravings grow. The amount of time you can be happy shrinks. But in the enlightened mental state, you're getting rid of all of that. And now you're getting this unconditioned happiness, this unconditioned joy where your mind can just be joyful all the time. If it's raining outside, or if it's sunny, you can still be happy. If your bank account is here or it's here, you can still be happy. If the traffic is doing this or doing that, you can still be happy. If your mom or dad are doing this, that, or the other thing, you can still be happy. So you will have eliminated all discontent feelings. But don't think that you're numb or that you're lacking enthusiasm or ambition or anything like that. Because sometimes when people think about eliminating discontent, they think, wow, you must just be a robot. You must be emotionless and not have any fun whatsoever. This isn't actually true. It's just the opposite. You're having way more fun as an enlightened being as you would as an unenlightened being. As an unenlightened being, you can only experience fun when these particular things are happening. And then when those things are happening, you're experiencing anger and sadness and frustration and all these other things. An enlightened being can be having fun all the time, no matter what they're doing. It's always enjoyable. So yes, you've eliminated all discontent feelings 100%, but it's conditional feelings that you're basing your inner feelings on some condition. Your mind is now experiencing unconditioned mental qualities instead. You have some follow-ups on that? You sure? Okay. Sometimes people, it's hard. I'll share with you. It's very challenging for the mind in the unenlightened state to understand enlightenment. You can't even fathom, experience peace and joy permanently, unconditioned, because everything you've always been taught in your life probably has been, oh, you know what'll make you happy? Get more money. That's what'll make you happy. You need more money. Get more money. Chase that money. That's what's going to make you happy. Get more money. Well, you've been doing that. How's it working out for you? Right? Or I know what you need. You need a boyfriend or girlfriend. Get that. That's what'll make you happy. Well, you've been doing that. How's that working out for you? Right? Oh, I know what you need. A brand new house or a brand new car. Chase that. That's what'll make you happy. Okay, you've been doing that. How's that working out for you? So these are things that you might decide you need, and you would like to have these things in your life, but it's when you base your inner feelings on them that it's going to cause you frustration and agitation and annoyance, because those things aren't permanent. So you need to be willing to let go of the temporary happiness in order to get to the permanent joy and the permanent happiness. Right? As long as you hold on to the temporary, I will be happy because of this, then that means that thing is not permanent, and you're ultimately going to end up in dissatisfaction. But when you can learn how to be inwardly happy by eliminating your cravings, desires, attachments, that is permanent. It's a permanent mental state. Anything else you guys would like to talk about? Ask questions about? Those of you guys online, you can ask questions too. No? Yeah, you have another one, Keith? Yep.
You just mentioned there, based on her question.
Just mentioned what?
you just mentioned just recently about when you were answering her question that you shouldn't feel happy, that temporary happiness. You know, so something goes well for me. I get a sale at work, for example, and I make more money, and that makes me happy in the short term. But then I have a bad day the next day, and I feel bad. You know what I mean? I don't make a sale. So, when you answered that question, did you say when you have these moments when things go, you know, what I perceive to be going well for me, not to get kind of caught up in that moment and just to try and keep a kind of neutral kind of feeling? And then when things don't go so well, I can also keep that kind of, you know, this more neutral instead of having this kind of roller coaster of emotions is what I often, you know, experience, especially when I'm working. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, you need to be able to see the conditioned pleasant feelings as part of the problem, right? That's what this second universal truth is explaining. This is explaining the problem in the unenlightened mind, that roller coaster you're talking about, the up and down and up and down. That as soon as you allow your mind to get a conditioned pleasant feeling, it's only a matter of time before it gets the painful one, right? If you get so excited because you got a brand new job, it's only a matter of time before that job's over because it's impermanent. So you're going to experience anger and sadness and frustration when you get fired or when you get laid off or the company goes out of business or something else. So if you allow your mind to have conditional pleasant feelings, that temporary happiness, then you will experience the painful feelings. So you need to be able to see the pleasant feelings as part of the problem. But it's not to say that an enlightened being doesn't experience any pleasantness, because their minds always experience pleasantness. Right? They're always experiencing pleasantness because it's unconditioned. The mind is purified. But as long as you have these cravings, desires, attachments in the mind, it's like, I can only be happy when these things are occurring. And the older you get, the more that you accumulate cravings, desires, attachments in your mind. This is why people typically associate old age with grumpiness. You don't have to be old and grumpy, right? You can be old and cheerful. You can be old and pleasant. You can be old and having lots of fun. You don't have to be old and grumpy. But when you have cravings, desires, attachments, and you've been accumulating those all throughout your life, you'll be old and grumpy, right? But when you purify these out of your mind, you can be old and cheerful, right? So seeing the pleasant feelings, those conditional pleasant feelings, are part of the problem because they're temporary. That means you're ultimately going to end up in dissatisfaction. You need to be able to see those as part of the problem. And this is where the Eightfold Path comes in. And when you learn right view, you learn about this and you learn to cut off those conditioned pleasant feelings. Don't allow the mind to experience those conditioned pleasant feelings. So when you make a sale at work, it's like, sweet, I made a sale. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, let's move to the next thing. No reason to get so excited, because when you don't make a sale, you'll be so sad. The more excited you get, the more sadness you'll have. It's going to be high and low. So when you make a sale, it's like, all right, sweet, did a good job here. Now what's next? Okay, this is going to help my family. It's going to help me. Excellent. Let's go on to the next thing. Let's do the next thing. And you're just making wise decisions, and you feel good about the sale because you helped somebody. Right? You help somebody with this product or this service that you're selling, and you would like to have a livelihood that you feel good about because you're providing a product or a service that's going to be beneficial for somebody. So that's what you would like to be able to do, is not allow the mind to get those conditioned pleasant feelings at the time of the sale. Or the other one you were talking about is when you're driving, when the traffic looks pretty good and it's going the way you typically would like it to go. Don't get excited during that situation, because you know it's only a matter of time before someone cuts you off. It's only a matter of time because of impermanence, right? So if you allow yourself to get excited when the traffic's pretty thinned out and everybody's driving pretty decently, now when things change, you'll be upset with that. So seeing the conditioned pleasant feelings, happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria as part of the problem is so key to getting to enlightenment. If you don't see that, then you'll continue to do that. You'll continue to indulge in that, and your mind's going to end up in the painful feelings shortly after. Or sometimes it can be really far apart. This is why a Buddha can see this, right? Because sometimes these things are so far apart. Like you get a job and you get so excited, and then 5 years later, you get laid off because the company goes out of business, and you're angry 5 years later. You don't realize it's because of the problem that occurred 5 years before. This is where a Buddha can see this because they have such a deep memory. They can see this very clearly. But in the unenlightened state, you don't see it. So you need somebody to help you and point it out. Then when someone points it out, like a tour guide, then you can see it. You're like, oh yeah, that is exactly what happens. All right, looks like you guys had enough to talk about. Enough discussion for today. Any more questions? No? Sounds like it stopped raining. Yeah. We knew it was impermanent. It wasn't going to rain permanently, right? Because the universal truth of impermanence tells us it's not going to rain permanently. And when that sun comes out in a couple of days, or maybe right now, don't get happy and excited because that's impermanent too, right? When you go to the airport and your flight is scheduled for a certain time, is it going to always be on time? Is your flight going to always be on time? No, right? It's not possible for every airplane to fly on time. So if you crave to get on that airplane and you want it to fly at a certain time, when it's 30 minutes delayed or 3 hours delayed, you'll be frustrated because you're craving for it to go at a certain time. It's not possible for every flight to be on time. It's just not possible because of impermanence, right? So when you navigate the world, you're going to see all this impermanence around you. Okay, so thank you all for coming to the temple. Thank you for joining. If you'd like to learn more, I have classes Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. On Saturday and Sunday, I have set things that I teach you guys. There's certain programs that I teach Sunday and also on Saturday as well. But on Wednesdays, I usually do meditation, and then I just open up to whatever questions you guys have, which have a discussion like this. But typically on Saturday and Sunday, what I'm doing is I'm sharing certain content with you guys and really guiding you on the path. And it syncs up to this book series that I share. I have a 13-book series that is available for you at no cost. You can download it for free from our website. You can take it and go print it if you like. You can get printed versions here at the temple just by reimbursing us for our printing cost. And you can also get it on Amazon too. I suggest you start with the first book, volume 1. And this is the Sunday, Wednesday program that I teach that you can attend here, or you can attend online. And if you attend Sunday and Wednesday, and then sometimes you can't attend because you can't attend permanently. It's not possible, right? It's recorded. So you can watch it on Monday or Tuesday or whenever you have time. And then gradually, slowly but surely, you can learn the teachings. And if you have difficulties reading English, I've done this as an audiobook too, where it's free. You can look on YouTube or our podcast, and it'll show you the book on the screen, and you'll hear me saying it too. So I even used this when I first wrote the book and I did the audiobook. I would watch the audiobook in order to help me remember what it is that I wrote and kind of deeply soak it in as I would prepare for each class. I would use the audiobook because when you're seeing it and you're hearing it, it helps you to retain it and hold on to the wisdom and learn the wisdom better. So if you'd like to learn, there's Sunday and Wednesday, and then there's the Saturday program as well. And then there's various courses and retreats throughout the year that you can attend here or you can attend online. And all of these are at no cost too. You can even get personal guidance. You can come talk to me here while you're in Thailand, or if I travel around the world to Mexico and different places, you can come talk with me and spend private time over different challenges that you're experiencing, because it's one thing to learn in a class like this and kind of talking more generally, but it's another thing to talk about your specific issues and apply the teachings to your specific issue. And you can talk in person, or even as you travel, I have a way on the website where you can schedule an appointment and we'll meet together in Zoom. So it'll show you my schedule. It'll show you available appointments. You can schedule. It's all available at no cost. And then we can just meet in Zoom, and you can share with me all the challenges and difficulties that you're having. I won't tell you what to do. I won't dictate things to you. I will just share teachings with you that'll help you cultivate wisdom, and you'll come to your own conclusion and your own decision. I'll say, hey, if you make the decisions this way, here's kind of what you experience. If you make decisions this way, this is what you'll experience. And then you make the decisions that's best for you. My goal isn't to tell you what to do. My goal is to help you cultivate wisdom so that you can make a decision for yourself. Whether I'm with you or not, you'll be able to make your own wise decision if you've cultivated wisdom. So the path to enlightenment is about you cultivating wisdom and gradually growing. So as you would like help, feel free to reach out, and I'm here to help you. So have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day, and perhaps I'll see you guys in one of these future classes. Take care and be well. Sawadee khap. Sawadee khap. Sawadee khap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.